Welcome to another episode of the AppSec Insiders Podcast. This is a show where we discuss the hottest topics and latest trends in application and cloud security and tell you what you need to know. For those who don't know who we are all software developers, white hat hackers, and code security experts. And when we're not recording the podcast, we help organizations of all sizes with their cybersecurity needs. If you are an AppSec professional and you're looking for an opportunity to work with some of the best in the industry, or a developer with an interest in cybersecurity, be sure to check out our careers page at forwardsecurity.com/careers. We would greatly appreciate also if you would subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the show, and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter at Forward Security. Links are in the show notes. And in today's episode, we will be discussing two news stories that we think are of interest. Maybe before we get into that, let me actually just quickly mention we are going to be, if you want to come see us and meet with us and talk to us, we are going to be at 6 events, 3 in Vancouver, 3 in Toronto in this year, 2025. In Vancouver, there's Future IT Vancouver on September 25th. There is the second annual Vancouver International Security Summit. That is October 16th and 17th. There is the 50th Global Conference on Cybersecurity and Cloud Engineering, or the GCCSCE, on November 29th. In Toronto, where I am, we're going to be out at Sector, now rebranded as Black Hat Canada, September 30th to October 2nd. We're going to be at CIO Meet, October 9th, and we're going to be at Cybersecurity Defense Ecosystem Summit. That's November 26th. Okay, so I think to kick us off, Iman, why don't you tell us about the crypto heist that happened over by was it Cursor users?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like code highlighting with Cursor AI for $500,000. It's a bit expensive for like a code highlighter. There was a poor developer, uh, like Web3 developer, and one of the languages in Web3 is Solidity, and you can write a smart contracts with Solidity on EVM-based chains such as Ethereum, and there are even like I believe these days Solana even they support Solidity, but mainly the target is like chains such as Polygon, Ethereum, etc. And this poor developer, he was using Cursor AI, and the victim installs a malicious extension, and I believe maybe this is the product of vibe coding. Because as you can see, this is Cursor AI, and the guy, I assume he is a rich crypto guy that he wanted to develop some, I don't know, fake coins to scam people, or maybe not to scam people, but I don't know, like a useful smart contract. And he started to do the vibe coding, and then there is like an extension, like there is a valid extension for Solidity that you can install and on Cursor AI and VS Code, that using this extension you can highlight the code. And during due to like registry's ranking algorithm, it favoring recent updates and download counts, it's easy for you to push, it seems so actually, to push malicious extensions into Cursor AI marketplace, because you can start downloading your extension with a botnet, and this malicious extension had like 54,000 downloads, and because of that, uh, maybe the marketplace thought, okay, this is a valid extension because how many there are a lot of people that they downloaded that, and now it appeared higher in results than the legitimate one. And then the victim actually installed it, believing that, and it was non-functional. And the victim thought, okay, it might be a bug. But upon activation, the extensions, there was like extensions JavaScript file called extension.js. It downloads and executes, or downloaded and executed a PowerShell script, and then it install remote access tool. I'm talking about Trojan. They call it RAT, remote access tool. After installing remote access tool, it was confirmed and it was configured to connect to the attacker's C2 server, granting remote control to the attacker and remote control over the victim's machine also. And after that, the rest is history because the attacker was able to steal anything that they want. And they had like a credential stealer. They were able to upload or download, in this case, download the victim's wallet, secrets, and everything. And that is very, very dangerous actually. And never install any extension that you don't trust. And don't trust these marketplaces. I know stories that there are crazy stories that even for some of the crypto wallets, I believe it was Rabi wallet, which is very famous. They didn't have iOS application, and suddenly one person created an iOS app for Rabi, and they fall for that actually. And just double check the extensions that you have installed anywhere in your Chrome, in your browser, the apps that you installed. And this is not just like this is a supply chain attack, but because I'm talking about like crypto related attacks, I can talk more about like similar cases that they target developers. When we do like penetration testing, we usually think that the attackers they target the users, but sometimes they target the developer. And there is something called Ronin. There was a project that I believe Ronin Network. It was very famous, and they lost around $600 million because of an attack vector that was similar to this one. How it works, or how they attack that Ronin network was that you know they there was a developer that had access to secret keys. This is a wrong thing. The developers they shouldn't have access to like production secret keys. And in the wallet with that secret key, they were storing like hundreds of millions of dollars. And now Lazarus Group, which is like a North Korean state sponsored group, they kind of it was interesting because they created a fake company in LinkedIn and offered that developer like a ridiculous salary, I don't know, over $1 million. And the developer kind of without telling the company, they start to find a new job and they fell for this trap. And when the interview happened, everything was okay. It seems they uploaded like a PDF file to sign the contract, but that PDF file contained an exploit, a zero-day exploit. And they were able to install a malware in the developer's machine, and then the attackers they were able to steal 600 millions of dollars. This is crazy actually, and this is the number is big, but I know some friends, and the number is much smaller, but it happened to them. Like the guy was invited for an interview, and there are different cases. One of them, they told him that okay, you know, this is more for developers, like because I know that you do interviews, be aware of that. They told him that instead of Zoom, we are using, for example, Boom, another service that is similar to Zoom. And then they told him that you need to you need to download that from this website. They downloaded that, they installed that, and then their wallet got drained because that was a Trojan. In another case, uh, this friend lost $40,000. He's a developer. He was invited to an interview, and they told him, okay, we need to know your coding ability, and because of that, please fork this GitHub project and start working on this GitHub project and add this feature. Immediately after he forked that and he executed the project, they installed the malware in his system. because some parts of the project was obfuscated and he didn't know that. And that's it, you know. It's crazy, and we can. I mean, I can go on and on. And we had many cases in the past 2 years with different attack vectors that they were targeting the developers. Maybe we can switch to your news, Jared. Go ahead, please.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think the hardest part about hearing all this is that how do you even protect against it? It's basically you have to be careful about what you install, but it's not always possible.
Yeah,
It's not always possible to know. Yeah.
not even just what you install, what you fork in GitHub.
Right.
You should never trust like open source projects that you don't know actually.
Yeah.
Because you fork something, they execute the code in your machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, one of the benefits of being open source is that a lot of people have access to read it and audit it, but that also means that it's going to be a bigger target, and not everybody's, even though so many people are exposed to a public project, doesn't mean people are necessarily reading it and auditing it. You just hope that they are. Anyways, yeah, interesting. So my news story is about the looming threat of our jobs. Not really, but in a way it is. So there was a vulnerability found in WebKit browsers. Actually, what it is it affects the V8 JavaScript engine, which Node uses as well, but this is specific to browsers because the bug is in a subsystem called Angle, which stands for something about GL, because it's the network, it's the hardware translation layer between the OpenGL and WebGL. Okay, so if you're using any kind of WebGL thing on your, I don't know if people may not even know this, but you can run full games in the browser using WebGL. Under the hood, it uses OpenGL, and the translation layer between that is on V8 is called Angle, ANGL. Sure, I could have looked up what that was before this podcast, but anyways, what the acronym stands for. So this is going to affect, because this is WebKit. We don't know if it affects Firefox because they use a different JavaScript engine, but we know that it does affect Edge, Safari, Chrome, Chromium, I think Opera too, mobile Safari. Obviously we can't say that Firefox is safe, but because this hasn't been tested there, but this bug is specific to V8 and WebKit browsers where Firefox is not. It runs on its own thing, its own framework. So, what's specifically so this is a use after free vulnerability. Use after free is quite a difficult bug to find in general. So usually what this looks like is you use a non-memory safe language, something where you do the memory management yourself, which means Rust probably would have prevented this issue. But since this was written in, I think, either C or C++, um, you create like a struct, and you've got different variables defined in there. And depending on when you use them and then later reuse them without freeing them, you can create a state where when you go back and reuse that object, you can access parts of memory that you weren't supposed to. That's the best that I can describe it without, getting into visual aids and keeping it short. But use after free is quite a difficult bug to find. So what makes this especially interesting is that this wasn't found by a person. And this is why I said this might be a looming threat to our job, because this was found by an AI. This was a 0-day found by Google, by Google's AI, not Gemini. It was found by something called Big Sleep, which is a combination between DeepMind, which is their big AI project, and Project Zero. Project Zero, you may be familiar with from very famous exploits like Cloudbleed. They were able to, they found ways to use Rowhammer that were interesting. You might have heard of Spectre. So Project Zero is responsible for finding all of those, and now they've been collaborating with DeepMind to create this project called Big Sleep. And Big Sleep was able to find this use after free vulnerability. This is a big deal, right? This is not the kind of vulnerability that a SAST scanner can find. SAST scanners may be able to find places where there's a potential use after free. They can see where you're setting or allocating memory, and they may note that it doesn't see a command to free that memory later on. Um, but it always, with SaaS tools, when that gets flagged, always requires a human eye to go in and look at it and figure out, is this truly an issue? Whereas this AI tool was able to um, find it, and actually they have not really disclosed how this works. So we don't know if it's looking at source code, if it's fuzzing, if it's doing some combination. We actually don't know how it was working. We don't even know if it had any kind of human assistance to it. What we have seen from other projects is that most AI assisted vulnerability discoveries usually come with a lot of noise. So, for instance, I've read some recent reports that show recent researchers who've um, published their findings saying that when they are trying to do this, they're seeing like one true vulnerability for 50 hallucinations or 50 false reports, right? That's a high false positive rate. But what's interesting is still that it was able to find such a complex issue, uh, something that for a human would be quite difficult, and for a SAS scanner, basically impossible. So, very interesting to see the new landscape um, of vulnerability research in the future. By the way, if you're using Chrome or any of these other browsers, usually they have an auto update feature. You're already patched. As long as you make sure that in the top right corner, you don't see the color red or yellow. If you do, you click in there, you allow Chrome to restart and come back. I personally like to set my tabs to reopen where I left off. That way, if you have 50 tabs open, you don't have to think, oh, first I got to go through all these tabs and finish my business before I can close the browser and allow security updates. Um, so yeah, that's it. Very interesting, the state of AI research.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's great. Thank you. Actually, it's a looming threat as you told, but we should embrace the future.
yeah, it's embrace the future, and also it seems like it's far enough away that you and I have a little bit of time
To
to
save
start
some
working
money
in those
in
areas. Save
case.
some money, yeah. Yeah. Sure,
That's
sure.
great.
Yeah.
Awesome. That concludes this episode of our AppSec Insiders podcast. And we hope you've enjoyed learning about all these news and like the supply chain one and the AI vulnerability sector. And remember to tune in next time as we delve deeper into the role of application and cloud security, explore new ways to protect our digital assets. We appreciate your support and engagement. And if you have any topics in your mind, please don't hesitate to email us at appsecinsiders at forwardsecurity.com, or our Twitter handle is FWD, like forward underline SEC. And or feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, Forward Security. And for the latest application security news and other opportunities, please also consider subscribing to our podcast. And that's it. Thank you very much.